And I want to welcome everybody tonight. It's January 20th to our Monday mentoring call. And my name is Jeff Altgilbers. I'm in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I'm a Platinum International Diamond with For Life Research. For those of you that may be new and have just joined us, we want to welcome you, new ones especially. Of course, we're always glad when the old faithful show up, as they did tonight. And it's nice to be able to hear all these voices and to see you back on the call. Those of you who have been calling in for some time. I'm excited now about I just want to do some updates about our system, and I'm trying to remember everything Carlos told me. If you go to your back office, you will notice now under the e-book, that is the book, Your Guide to Financial Freedom. Under that book, there's another button. It's a yellow one. The other one was brown, blue, and green. Now we got a yellow button. That yellow button is the tutorial section. And those videos explain how to set up. Well, right now he's got 3 different subjects, and he's about to add a 4th. One being the overview in English, and then we have one in Spanish, and then the editing your website video. So now we have those tutorials. So that is a big help to be able to have that. We also had the Korean website completed. So for those of you that meet people either through social media or social networking, through Facebook, different, social media platforms. Now when you meet somebody from Korea, you can email them the video. You'll actually hear me speaking Korean. It's funny to listen to me in Korean. Actually, I'm not speaking. They just did a voiceover on me. But it's funny to listen to it. But to a Korean person, it'll make total sense, and they'll understand the message very clearly. So that gives you some leverage there. Obviously, the most important languages for us are going to be English and Spanish, for sure. We do have, as some of you know, the Brazilian Portuguese. We have that system up. And then now we're getting ready to add very soon, probably next month, Tagalog, which will be for the Filipinos. There's 20 million Filipinos working outside of the Philippines. So a number of them live in the United States, but they also live in Japan, they also live in Korea, they also live in different countries around the world. And, believe it or not, they live in the Philippines. So you can, now you'll be able to very soon prospect any Filipino. And why would you do that? Well, it was the number 1 growth market on For Life's list. That may have changed, in the last 30 days. I'm not aware of it if it did, but I know over a month ago that was the case. One of the poorest countries in the world was the number 1 growth market. Go figure. So if they can do it there, they can do it anywhere. Some of the other things that in the back office, the audio library. The audio library is up. So if you go to resources in your back office, you'll see that one button with a green speaker, and it says audio library. If you click on that, George has been doing a great job uploading our conference calls there in English and Spanish, and that's been such a great thing to be able to archive that, especially for people that live on the other side of the world. People in like Philippines and India and just Singapore, Malaysia, all over, wherever people are. Because of the time difference, I know in Taiwan they're like 12 hours. Korea is like 13 hours. So for to be able to make that tool available now, where they can just click on that and catch the latest conference call, that's really great. It's also great for people like, again, in the Philippines, where just the cost of calling into one of these calls would be very expensive for them. It'd be very expensive. So now all they got to do is log into their back office, and they can hear it for free. So that's a very nice tool to be able to have. We also have under Webmaster, when you click on that, if you have any special needs, problems with anything having to do with your website, hopefully you don't, but if you do, it's there. But also if you have questions on how to promote yourself successfully through social media, then they have certain services that they offer. So it's just another plus. It's another thing that we have, in our back office. I think that pretty much catches up on the news on everything here. What I wanted to talk about briefly tonight was really what this business is all about. And what this business is really all about is you. I mean, we could talk about, that when people ask you what makes what you do work, what makes For Life so successful, and all that, we could come up with a number of different things. We could say we have a great company, and that'd be true. We could say we have a great product, that'd be true. We could say we have a great compensation plan, and that would be true. But I'll tell you what, if you take out you out of that factor, then we don't have anything. We talk about transfer factor was the greatest thing that ever happened to For Life. No, transferring you into others, that was the greatest thing that happened to For Life. It's duplication. It's being able to know how to present ourselves to other people and take what we have, our abilities, our traits as leaders, and be able to let people feel that when we talk to them. I've heard it said many times in the past that this business is really 10% knowledge and 90% attitude. Think about that. 10% knowledge and 90% attitude. It's really true. So really, if you had to feed one of the two, which one would you feed? I'd feed the attitude part. Knowledge has its place. It does. But there's no question that for people in our company that spend a lot of time focusing on that product, they want to know more knowledge about it. They want to get into the science of it, how transfer factors work, and all that. They spend all that time doing that. The danger of that, the problem with that is when they meet and prospect people, what do? They dump all that information on people. And what do people think? Wow, that person's smart. They're intelligent. Good grief, they might even qualify to be a doctor, but that's not me. I don't have the time to learn all that. I don't have, the time to learn how to explain that to people. That's right. It's very intimidating. And that's the problem when we go down that road where we want to make a science out of this. The only people that need to make a science out of this is our developers, our PhDs, our research scientists at For Life Research. Let them make a science out of it. That's what they do. And then at our conventions and maybe on calls and perhaps even in our website, they can let us know about certain things. And then, it's okay to read it and know it. But the important thing here is to understand this. What's going to make a person's decision to join is going to be you. It's going to be you. And so what you have to do is work on you. And that's what I said. If it's 10% knowledge and 90% attitude, that's the determining factor who becomes real winners in this great industry called network marketing. I guarantee you, where we got to spend most of our time is feeding that attitude. How do we do that? We do it a number of ways. One is certainly we want to make sure we're reading the right books. I wouldn't spend my time reading newspapers or looking at the news, because if you ever read or heard good news, it's always bad, isn't it? It's always bad. And so much of it is misleading. So much of it is misleading. We should spend our time reading material and books that will help us grow. Now, we recommend different books at different times. We do. And, we've encouraged people to, on this call, to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't done it, read it. I have one of my leaders who did not have people skills. And people skills are so crucial if we're going to make it in this business. Because if for people to buy you, then they got to buy your skills. And what are those skills? Communication. And if you're meeting them face to face, you need to look at them in the eye. And, of course, how you speak to them, the manner in which you speak to them. There's really so much to it, isn't it? And it's how we treat them. How do we make them feel? Do we make them feel very special? Do we get our minds off ourselves, and are we good listeners? Good listeners means we're emptying our mind. We're just emptying it of anything that we're thinking about, and we're totally focused on what they're telling us. They can always tell if we have sincere interest. There's a book that you could probably get on Amazon, and it's called People Buy You. And it says The Real Secret to What Matters Most in Business. People Buy You. It's by Jeb Blount, Blount. Jeb Blount. I might refer to that book later in a few weeks, but I just, enjoyed reading just a little bit of it, but it certainly confirmed what I always believed. I know that when I built my business, I don't think I ever considered myself an expert in network marketing. I certainly wasn't an expert in the compensation plan. And if you try to get deep with me on the compensation plan, you're going to get very disappointed. Matter of fact, I found that most of the people that earn huge incomes in network marketing, they don't totally understand the compensation plan. See, what I did understand was this. If I go out and I find 3 very serious leaders, and I work hard with them, and I drive their teams, I'll qualify. I'll qualify to make gold, and eventually I'll qualify to make platinum. That's what I understood. And even before that, I understood when I wanted to get to International Diamond, I had to build 2 teams. It's very simple, 2 teams. Now, I might have to recruit 30 or 40 people to find 2 very serious leaders. Is it worth it? You bet you. It sure is worth it. And when you find them, and you run with them, and you help those people achieve the very things that they want, then you're an international diamond. International diamonds make a lot of money. I've got internationals that make $30,000 a month. That's not bad money. It's not bad money. You get the gold. I've got golds in my team that make over $100,000 a month. That's not bad. Is it worth it? You betcha. But it all starts with you. You. You have to work harder on yourself than you do your team. I'll say it again. You have to work harder on yourself than you do that team. Now, I'm a Patriots fan. Now all of you are laughing after you saw that game yesterday. I love Tom Brady because he knows how to drive, but there's no question about it. The coach that put that team together on the Broncos, both defensive, offensive, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to get the right people. You need to do that too. And that is, you want to be able to be the kind of person that people are attracted to. And it's not that hard to do. It's not hard. I had to send a message to one of my international diamonds because I noticed in Facebook, in all his pictures, he doesn't smile. So I wrote him and I said, listen, you need to smile. You need to look happy. I mean, isn't that why you work so hard to get to where you are? And he's doing well. In this case, just to tell you a story, his name is Roel, and he's from Manila, Philippines. He's a guy that used to sell just about anything he could get his hands on in the streets of Manila. Now, it's a brutal city. When you talk about millions of people being there, I know when I leave the airport and I'm en route to the hotel where I stay at by the For Life office, that it's such a congested city. And so a lot of times where I'm just sitting there in traffic, and people will come up to your window and they'll tap on it. Maybe some of you have seen this in other countries, but I mean, just imagine Manila. I mean, it's really intense there. But it's so hot, and they're so miserable. And they make about, $2 at the most a day. Think about that, friends. $2 at the most a day. And you can barely feed a family. In his case, you could barely feed a family on that. And he only looked at For Life because a friend invited him to come over to a company presentation that we were doing. And they were serving food. And so he wanted a meal. And that was the only reason why he came. And while he was there having something to eat, he listened to the presentation. Now, if you ask me, Jeff, what do you think the odds of that guy who's been living on the streets all his life, making $2 a day, well, what are his odds of ever being an international diamond? I'd just tell you that no way. Because the guy's conditioned for poverty. The guy can't see outside of that darkness that he's in. It's very difficult. And I'd be so wrong, and I'm so happy I am. It teaches me new lessons about people. But that man took off, and do you know his income has been $7,000-8,000 a month, my friends. $7,000 to $8,000 a month. Now, this is a guy that went from almost $60 a month to $7,000-8,000 a month. He came over to our convention with the Filipinos in September last year. And after the convention, I had him over here at our resort mountain where we live in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And then I had a party here where I entertained. We had about 50 Asians. And but it was so nice to get to know him and talk with him. And just I believe last night he was messaging me talking about how he gets his leaders at the For Life office and really gets them pumped up, gets them motivated. That's what he does. He's really into people buying him. He's really into contributing to his leaders. So when I was mentioning earlier that to work harder on yourself than you do your team, really, it really has to do with the books that we're reading, the influences that are around us, that are affecting us. And, you can fill your mind with so much goodness that really it's very difficult for anything bad or negative to get in your brain. Even your car, when you're going down the road and you're driving somewhere, why not have audiobooks, on your phone that you can listen to? It's so nice. I know I enjoy doing that. I'm always trying to catch up on books and what people are talking about. I'm always trying to learn either about self-development or, certain authors that I admire. We all have those, like Anthony Robbins. There's so many different authors that I do enjoy and mentors that I like to catch up on. So really, when we do that, I'm not saying that you don't ever have to listen to music. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about you've got to get yourself where you feed that 90% of what it takes to make it in this business, that attitude. If you do that, if you can feed that attitude, if you can create that state of mind, if you can get where you have empowered yourself so that people look at you and they say, something different about him or her, and they'll follow you just out of curiosity just to see where you're going. That's right. People want to follow leaders. They're looking for leadership because most people are just in the dark. They really are. When you smile at them, One of those simple things that we can do that again, will attract people to buy you. When you do simple things like smile at them, show an interest, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. You look like a successful person. If you don't mind me asking, what is it you do? Just taking an interest. You know, there's a reason why a dog is a man's best friend. Think about it. How many dogs reject you? And it's not like they have a conversation, do they? They just come up licking on you, wagging their tail. They're so interested in you. But the interesting thing is that most humans are not that way with other humans. They're just not interested. But when you're different and you have that attitude that you are interested in somebody, believe me, they're hungry for it. Now, of course, they might want to be a little cautious because they may think, you know, you're trying to manipulate them, but they'll be able to sense it when it's genuine. And especially when you don't ask inappropriate questions where you're invading their privacy. The thing is, what we want to do is we just want to make people feel special, and then we just want to share something with them. We have a trifold brochure in the back office. If you go to your back office, you can look at the print button, or it says print and email, and that print button, and you can order from Vistaprint your trifold brochure that will explain the 3 trends: network marketing, social media, and the wellness industry. And you can have your web address there for your website, and then your phone number, and you can be ready to share that. Girls, ladies, you can put that trifold brochure right in your purse. When you're at Starbucks, when you're shopping, wherever you are. I was talking to Maritza the other night, and you know, she's another go-getter. She would stop somewhere and just for a moment, and she just was in a mood to get a hot dog, and she talked to the guy at the hot dog stand and shared with him this opportunity. And guess what she did? She signed him up. I love it. I love it. So she's not afraid of strangers, and that's the thing. Once we get where we realize we lack nothing in this business, and you don't lack anything, it's 90% attitude. So if it's 10% knowledge, how much do you need to know? How much? I had to tell some of the leaders in India that when they were asking me recently about we need more training on the product. I told them, I said, what do you need to know? You open your mouth, you put the pill in, you drink it down with water, swallow. Training's over. Let's go to work. It's okay to know a little more than that. Okay, I'm just having fun. But I just want them to understand what they're doing is wrong. Because people, what they want most in life are solutions to their problems. And the solutions to their problems are generally financially related, and we have an answer for that. It's called For Life Research. And we offer a social media, social networking system for free if they join you. Just if they join. It's worth thousands of dollars. They get it free if they just join. And then they can build anywhere in the world they want. So when they understand that, people understand that we have what they need. And when they see our video, when they see that, hey, you sponsor 6 people, and duplicate that 4 levels deep, you're making $18,000 a month. I don't know. Who can't live on $18,000 a month? I mean, the cost of living hasn't gone up that much, has it? I think that's pretty good. Of course, that's not the end all by any means. But it goes to show with just 2 people, with 2 bottles, with everybody moving 2 bottles, just 2 bottles of Transfer Factor Plus. It can be other products, but I just keep it simple, and I say 2 bottles of Transfer Factor Plus because it is our flagship product. 6, sponsoring 6, go 4 levels deep, you're making $18,000 a month, my friend. There's nothing complicated about that. So what we got to do is we just got to get busy and find 6 leaders who are ready to change their life. We keep it simple, really. There's not too much we need to know. A lot of it is attitude. A lot of it is people skills. And I've seen some people who were very good at people skills. Women are great at it too. They're great communicators. They have a certain charisma. And no doubt, when you look at the best organizations in For Life, some of the best teams, you're going to find it's made up of those type of women. But men can do it too, guys. We can do it. Again, showing a warmth and interest in others, having a love for people. And then when they join you, certainly, that's not graduation day. That's the beginning. That means they've made a commitment to you. And now you, as the mentor, you have to make a commitment to them. And then you have to do what you can to help them. That doesn't mean you do it for them. It means you help them. That's right. And you make yourself available. So think about that and remember that. Don't think that you need to have a lot of knowledge or you got to read a whole bunch of books to be good at. That book that we have in the back office, Your Guide to Financial Freedom, I put everything in there that I could think of that was absolutely critical to your first year in this business. Or let's put it this way, until you get to International Diamond. I guess that's a better way to say that. Because you can be 1 year in this business, and if you don't use the system, well, then it's not going to benefit you. The system will benefit you if you use it. It's the same thing with transfer factor. Having transfer factor doesn't benefit you. Using transfer factor benefits you. But in that back office with that book, those were the fundamental essentials that what you must do if you're going to make it in this business. And it's doable, and anybody can do it. We heard this on the call last week when Nanette was speaking, and she was sharing her story. She came into For Life. She tried a system that was old-fashioned networking. That's the only way I could call it. It was based on the whole success of it was based on bringing people to meetings. She quit. It didn't work for her. And then what happened was that her life changed. She lost her job. Her autistic son developed cancer. It was a real tearjerker story. It really was. I was about to cry on the phone. And so she called Maritza and then said, I think I want to look at For Life again. And Maritza said, you know what? We've got a new system. I want to introduce it to you. And as soon as she introduced her to this system, last month she did over 6,000 life points. Incredible. But am I surprised? No. Because what she did was she went on the hunt. She simply went on the hunt and took this with her and did it. And so those type of people will grow well, and they'll grow fast. And then other people who aren't as hungry, well, they'll be a little slower. But that's okay. Later on, they may come around and get more active with it. But the good thing is, you lack nothing here. You lack nothing. And that 10%, that knowledge we talked about, it's in the back office. It's in the book. And then what you got to do, that other 90%, your attitude, is feed it. Feed it every day. Feed it and protect yourself. And then make sure that when you're around your family, be a positive influence on them, your wife or your husband, your children. Teach them to be positive thinkers. Don't be positive with your downline, positive with your prospects, and then to be negative with the family. We can't do that. So this is a thinking that we live 24/7. I remember one time many years ago I read an article about the 7-day diet and the 7-day mental diet. And the rule was that you had to think positively all the time. And if you could do that for 7 days, then you're off the diet. The problem was nobody could get off the diet because every now and then in that 7-day period they'd think something negative and then think, got to start all over again. So the 7-day mental diet, we have to live it and think it and inculcate that in our children, in our spouse, in the people that are around us. And then it gets to a point that finally we master that way of thinking. It doesn't mean that when bad things happen, if you find out a loved one died, that you got to think positive. I'm not saying that. There will be times in life we will grieve, and there will be bad news we will get. That's for sure. But once we put things in perspective and we come to terms with it, then we have to move on and think as leaders. Because there's so much good out there to be happy about. We need to love it. We need to love it. I remember when Arthur, and I'm getting ready to close, I remember my 5-year-old son, Arthur, when he was 2.5, I would put him on what I call the dog. And that's where I put a brace around his body, and it's got a leash, and there's a reason for that, because I would take him for walks out here in the mountains, and I didn't want him to fall down and get hurt. So anytime he fell, I would jerk up that leash, and then I would catch him before he'd hit the ground. But Arthur, I can remember one day, he was looking at the flowers, the wildflowers, he was looking at the blue sky, and he was just ecstatic. And so excited, and just like talking to himself. And I said to him, what are you so happy about? See what I mean? For my friends, that was a negative moment for me. And then a voice in my brain said, why aren't you happy right now? And then I thought, wow, that's right. I'm taking all this for granted. Why is the sky blue? Hadn't really thought about that in a long time. Why is there color? Why don't we see them black and white? Why? There's so many miracles happening around us in nature and in life, and we take it all for granted. So, feeding on that attitude, a child can do it. I learned it from a child. I learned it from a 2.5-year-old baby, my son. I was reminded, that we really got to feed our minds positive thoughts. Do that. Again, work harder on yourself than you do your team. If you do that, your team will grow, because you'll be the kind of coach that we saw with the Broncos last night. What an excellent job they did. And imagine, that team's going to the Super Bowl. I hope they win it. But think about your team. Wouldn't you love to experience that kind of success where you went to the Super Bowl of your life? I hope you do. Everyone, have a good night. And I'm going to now turn off the recording, and then I'm going to open it up, and we can say hello or whatever you want. Hang on just a second.